Sorry, we're a little bit late today, but anyway, here we are. So our standard agenda, as you've been following us for any time, is we thank our sponsors, talk about what's new, then I'll introduce Ronald, and then after his talk, we do our usual, hey, what we've been planning. We got some things cooking for 2024, and then what some of our friends of the Garden State Java Group are doing. And then we'll have our usual IntelliJ idea giveaway and also one of the coveted microprofile hoodies. So we'd like to thank our platinum sponsor, JFrog, the DevOps company. So they've been supporting us since we rebranded as the Garden State Java User Group 3 years ago. Appreciate their support. Our silver sponsors, Azul, and they are one of the downstream distributions, OpenJDK. Our partner is DevNexus, and you're going to hear more about DevNexus a little bit later. Their conference is coming up in April, and they have all their speakers set up, and yeah, so a lot of good things happening there. So our per meeting sponsors, of course, JetBrains. They're the ones responsible for making IntelliJ IDEA, along with other products like WebStorm, PyCharm, and ReSharper for the C# folks, and of course Eclipse Foundation and Jakarta EE, and they supply the Crowdcast video conferencing for all Java user groups. So what's new? Well, this is what's Java 22 is in ramp down phase 1. And what that means is all the features that they've been working on since I want to say March of this year, maybe even sooner, December, for almost a year now, when the expert group was formed. They've been adding these features in terms of JDK enhancement proposals, or otherwise known as JEPs. So I'm not going to read them one by one, but I will point out that the foreign function and memory API is now final. And what that means is it's went through its iterations of either incubating or preview, and then now it's final. So that means it can be used in production safely. The other one is unnamed variables and patterns. And it's kind of funny. I always see that the other way around. I see unnamed patterns and variables. So either I'm mixed up or I don't know. In any event, and these are the other ones that, like Project Loom, structured concurrency is in its second preview right now. Project Panama, the vector API. Curiously, it's in its 7th incubator. I don't even know when it's going to go to preview yet, but I kind of find I've never seen them that high. But anyway, so you can see that there's a lot of stuff going on. There's 12 JEPs in comparison to JDK 21, which was formally released in September. There were 15, so that's pretty good. No. So with that, I'm going to read a short bio from Ronald. He's our guest speaker tonight, coming to us from Belgium. And so, yeah, we were very happy to meet him. I've worked with Ronald for the last couple of years now. As you know, I write the weekly news roundup, which is a collection of smaller releases. And I follow his GitHub repo. And sometimes I already know a new release before the time maybe he will send me an email. So, it's been an awesome meeting you for the first time. So that's great. So all right. So Ron is a beer-loving open source developer, and notice the word beer-loving, and an architect from Belgium. He's a creator of JobRunr, and that's the focus on this talk tonight. It's a distributed scheduling engine that plugs right into Spring Boot, Quarkus, and Micronaut. So without further ado, Ron,
thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. I'll also share my screen. And here we go. So welcome, everybody. And today I will be talking about JobRunr. And JobRunr is in fact something that grew out of an open source project. Out of a hobby project a couple of years ago. Because there was a need for it, and now I am lucky enough that it pays my bills, to be honest. But I'll get to all the details in this story. So let's get started. Like I mentioned, the talk is about JobRunr. It's available on GitHub, and I'm really bad at Twitter because I have 2 Twitter accounts, one personally and one for JobRunr. Twice the work and not enough, half the amount of followers. And I am a little bit biased, perhaps, but I think it's the ultimate library for background processing in Java. It's distributed and backed by persistent storage, and of course, it's open and free for commercial use. And I was also really lucky because ThoughtWorks put me on their technology radar. And I never expected that, to be honest. And these are their words, a lot of blah, blah. But our teams have enjoyed using JobRunner's built-in dashboards, which is easy to use, and blah, blah, blah. So that was a little bit of unexpected. But I never expected that. And to be honest, I still feel like an imposter standing here presenting about all of this. I never thought this would happen. So the agenda for today, I'll quickly introduce myself, but Mike did that already. Quick question about who you guys are all. Then I'll tell you about the history of JobRunr. Why did I start developing it? And then, of course, we're all among developers here, so there will be some live coding where I show you the projects. Then we go into the internals. I'll tell you where we are today and what the plans are, and then Q&A, and eating my own dog food is the live coding part, which I will do now, where talk is chat. So, like Michael already said, I'm a beer fan. I was luckily born in the right country because I think we have more types of beers than inhabitants. And I'm a father of 3 wonderful kids, Home Assistant fan, and yeah, that's about it. Feel free to reach out in the top right corner if you want to find me online. And then who are you? First time Java user group attendees here. I think everybody has already been here a lot, to be honest. Yeah, because everybody knows everybody. And has anybody already heard about JobRunr, if I may ask? No. Oh, yeah, one. Yeah, 2. I really need to fire my marketing guy, which would be me.
Yeah, minimize that.
Yeah. All right. So, 3 years ago, I was consulting as a freelancer, and I got a new project back then, and they lured me in with the term, yes, it's a greenfield project. Note the small quotes around greenfield. It was in fintech, and the project was about e-invoicing. So what we needed to do is build a gateway to the PEPL network. And this is like a European standard to do e-invoicing between all the European countries. So what is PEPL? PEPL stands for Pan-European Public Procurement Online. And I think this is the reason why these people in the European Parliament make so much money. It's because they can come up with these difficult acronyms, because it's just e-invoicing or e-procurement standard for Europe. And being, of course, banking, this is about XML documents, and the actual PDF invoice is embedded base64 inside the actual XML documents.
It's really hard to understand. Why is it PEPL?
Yeah,
and it could have been PEPL.
It could have
We
been.
just have been pepper.
Yeah.
Online is like one word.
Yeah.
Why is there an L? Like, is pepper taken?
I don't know, perhaps indeed. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me neither. It's too difficult of a name, to be honest. So when I joined the team, there was a microservice. It was a microservice party. And to be honest, I'm not a big fan always of microservices, but hey. And there was a lot of RESTful microservices all built on top of GCP. And take a quick. It was an asynchronous API, and the first call saved the actual document, and then an event was put on PubSub for further processing. All the other communication was done asynchronously using RESTful APIs, also the external APIs. And the goal was to process millions of documents per day. Of course, always we're building the next Facebook, but actually we processed 100,000 documents per month, and they now have about 20 customers in production. But microservices, so processing was not retried from failure. Sometimes an HTTP endpoint went down, and yeah, processing was not retried. We didn't have any monitoring. Logging happened without correlation ID. And this meant that invoices got lost. They just accumulated on the dead letter queue of PubSub. And I don't know about you, but when you send out an invoice, I think you expect to be paid. So yeah. So this is how I felt when I joined the project. And this is how I felt after 2 weeks. So I considered a career change. But yeah, it's just not me. So I went looking into other solutions. And those are either always vendor specific. So Google Cloud, Amazon, AWS. And yeah, being the bank, they didn't want to tie in too much. They require extra infrastructure like Apache Kafka and Apache Hadoop, Apache Spark. And I don't know about you, but this is how I feel when I need to manage and Hadoop FS file system and cluster. And there was no open source one-stop shop that is easy to use. And with easy to use, I mean like really developer friendly. That's distributed by default, that uses your existing infrastructure, that includes monitoring, and that has resilience built in. I believe, and I really believe, that we're not all working for Facebook, LinkedIn, or Netflix, and that we process petabytes of data per day, or is it hour? I do believe that we often need to solve complex business processes with a moderate amount of data. Think gigabytes, terabytes. I also believe that we don't need extra infrastructure just to run some background job processing or some distributed processing. Let's keep it simple and stupid and reuse proven technologies like SQL and NoSQL databases. I think that creating and running these jobs should be fast and easy. Failing jobs, they should be retried by default and only bug me if they don't succeed after a while. It should be resilient built in. I also believe we should have instant insights in how our jobs are doing. And such a tool should be self-maintained and be plug and play. These are the beliefs I think I keep myself every day to when I work on JobRunr. And So that's and now a personal story, perhaps quickly. Back in 2020, this all happened, and I thought, okay, let's do this. Let's stop my current gig and let's work here full time on. And I stopped my contract there 1 month, no, like 2 weeks before the whole lockdown. And I really thought, oh my God, what have I just done now? Will I ever get a job again? Because yeah, this was not something I saw. But yeah, I just thought, why not continue and work to it? And I think I developed it on its full time, 10 to 12 hours a day, often sometimes a day in the weekends. I have a very good wife, to be honest, so I want to really mention that also, because she let me do that. And then, yeah, from January, February to September, I think, September, October. And yeah, it's my main goal. It had to be simple. You could just choose a Java 8 Lambda to create a background job. It had to be distributed and cluster friendly. It should use your existing infrastructure, either a relational database or a NoSQL data store. It should be embeddable. Just add one dependency. It's resilient. It retries automatically. You don't need to do anything. And I'll show you that later on. And it has a dashboard. So monitoring is included by default. And it integrates with the best, being Spring Boot, Micronaut, MicroProfile, and Quarkus. So it's not Supergirl, but JobRunr. And how do you create a job? Well, just a Java 8 Lambda. Background job.iq, and then you do, for example, sysout. This is all you need for distributed job processing. And this is the dashboard that comes with it. And I'll show you this all live soon. Voila. As we're all among developers here, time for some live coding. And I do want to mention out, let's not do it like live coding, but it's all shared responsibility. So if it fails, feel free to help. And it's like the new big thing in Agile, shared responsibility. So, all right. And to make things easy, and this is not readable at all, I'll first going to start a new project from scratch, and then I'll increase the zoom size. So this is 10. I should have this zoom. No, that was the wrong shortcut. This is already a little bit better, and then change to scheme, color scheme, edit the color scheme, and we change to classic lines. Is this readable? Yes, all right. So this is a vanilla project, and I'll try to keep as much as fluff out of it as possible. So we need some dependencies, of course, only 3 to be honest. One is of course JobRunr. And I think the latest one, 633. To be honest, I'll need to check later on. JobRunner internally uses JSON to save stuff inside the database. So you also need either JSON from the Eclipse Foundation, or the Google JSON library. For now, I'll go with faster XML. So JSON. And we also want to have some logging, of course. Log. Let's see. All right, I think we're settled. Now let's create a new Java file. Java class. So garden state jerk demo main.
6.3.3 is yours. Is it 6.3.3 is yours?
6.3. The latest. Yeah. I hope that I got it right. Let's see. I think so. Yes. The IntelliJ versioning is also always a little bit not a little bit out of date. Now let's create a really simple example. So we want to initialize JobRunner. So we want to configure it. We will need the JSON mapper, which I talked about. So we will use a JSON mapper. So this will be JSON mapper. Then for now, I will be using an in-memory storage provider. Of course, you can do this with any SQL or NoSQL database. Use storage provider. Next, I want to have some actual background shop processing happening. I want to have the dashboard. I want to initialize everything. And last but not least, I want to have the job scheduler available. Now, if you are using the Spring Boot or the Quarkus or the Micronaut integration, then all of this happens for you. You don't need to do anything. So it's just a property to enable background job processing and the dashboard on it. And now we want to do the actual job processing part. So what do? Let's enqueue a job directly. And here I can just create a Lambda. But typically we're using some services or so. So let's first create a dummy service. And this, for example, has a method. And we can, of course, pass parameters. It's also, for example, and now make it really easy for the moment. Voilà. Oops. So this cannot be our actual service, business service that does the business implementation. Typically, your Spring Bean, your Micronaut Bean or your Quarkus, CDI, thingy. All the names are getting difficult these days. And then what we can do is we just create a new instance from the garden state service. And here we just call the actual method.
Are you doing this as Spring Boot or just a native Java right now?
This is without Spring Boot. This is as simple as possible. If it would be Spring Boot, then you wouldn't have to do the new. I'll do this also in the demo. But if you do it with Spring Boot, all of this configuration is also not necessary.
If you have any extensive questions, then ask us for any other method. Okay, thank you.
Okay. And since this is happening live streaming, I'll put instant up now. And then I don't know. This is to keep the main program running. I don't know if it's necessary still, but yeah, let's see. So let's run that. And I'm going to do this. Voila. And I see already something passing by, but the first thing it says here, JobRunr dashboard using in-memory storage provider started at, look, and if I click on this, then we see the dashboard. I go to jobs, we see that some job already succeeded, and it's our job that we just include. If we then go to this job, then you see that it got enqueued. A little bit later, it got processed, and it succeeded, of course. And the total amount of processing took 0.01 seconds, and then the time it waited in the queue was less than a second. But we're just getting started, to be honest. So we can give this a really nice name. And here we can just say name. And I can even use parameters here. I think it's this syntax. I don't know. Yeah, of course, there is always the docs. And I know I wrote this code myself, but even I tend to forget stuff. But I think it's like in this thing. I don't know. And I want. Let's see that. And let's make it sleep a little bit. Let's do 10 seconds. And I really want you to embrace exceptions. So you can just throw exceptions. For example, here. And then let's make this fail also, actually. All right. Let's run that again. And even with this MacBook M1s, we still need to wait. Unbelievable. So the dashboard is up and running, I think. Yeah. And there's also already something different that we see. Instead of the job being in succeeded, it's now in processing. And it's now jumped back to scheduled. So what's happening over there? So let's have a look. And by the way, it worked. So the %1 gives you which parameter you want to inject in the display name. And we see what's happening. So the job got enqueued, then it started processing, and then, of course, we throw an exception. The processing failed, and we see the exact exception. What is happening? Hey, I'm failing.
Where did you pass in the parameter for that annotation?
Repeat the question, please.
Oh.
Or unless you have.
Oh.
There you go.
Oh, I didn't catch where you would pass in the parameter for the job annotation.
Yeah, so in the job annotation, here what happens is that %1 means take the two-string representation of the zero-based parameter.
Oh, okay.
So in this case, the presenter would be 0, instant would be 1, and
Thank you.
you're welcome. By the way, I also have a small cough. I tested for COVID, so it's not the China virus. It may be the European virus. Just kidding. All right. Now, this is of course not everything. Not yeah. You can do a lot more. Like for example, what if you would need to send out an email to all the user group entities here to say, hey, there is a new event happening, and we want to, invite them using an email. Then you would want to schedule such, and you would like to send a reminder email like 1 or 2 days before the actual event. So this is where the schedule method comes in, and here we can pass in schedule, and again an instant with the same job lambda. So of course there are also local date and stuff like that, but let's use instant, and let's do it 15 seconds from now. Yes, but so the question was, can it do Graal? Yes, it can, but I'll show you later on. And then we do the same thing here. In the meantime, I fixed my issue. And I need a semicolon. I like clean code, so I do static imports. And we don't need this one. And I'll do 25 seconds just to be sure. Voilà. Let's go to the dashboard. And what we now see is here, we've got a scheduled show, and it's scheduled 14 seconds from now. So, sorry?
It counts now.
Yeah, it counts now. It's even, if I click on it quickly. Oh yeah, well, it has live updates. So even if you stay on the page, it will automatically update the page. Voilà, there, it's processing succeeded. But we can do better than that. One thing that we can do is scroll indeed. So let's say that we want to schedule, we stop this quickly, this recurrently. And then there are two options. You can pass in a duration, so that way it's like an interval. It will run every 1 week, for example. Or you can pass in a cron. You know cron really well? Oh, I find it always really difficult. So what I did is you can do Chrome, and then you can say, I want to do it hourly, for example. And then if we go inside here, JobRunr has already the correct cron syntax for you. We can also do hourly on every 10th minute of the hour. Then you have like a really readable way to specify the cron syntax. Let's do 25, 22. And now my question to you, do you want to be this a long session? Because I can continue on live coding for a long time. Or if you want to...
one thing. You can show something where you can do multiple jobs with multiple threads working on. Is that possible?
If I can come up with an example, but I think I can, yeah.
I mean, you could just do 2 jobs with 2 threads.
Yeah, but by default, JobRunner does all the threading for you. So you don't need to worry about any threading at all.
Well, the case that I was thinking about is like, I want to execute 10 jobs, and I want to schedule 3 threads to run. You know?
Okay, I will show you that also. Let me first quickly show you the dashboard now. Because now we have a recurring job. It has a really long ID, which is the method signature. It has a job name. And the cron method says it will run 2 minutes past the hour.
So it would be something like, you have 3 threads running. So potentially you're executing 3 jobs with a time interval. Like, 3 jobs, 1 second, 3 jobs, 1 second, 3 jobs.
I'll do an example, and you can guide me during the example what you want. And then here you can see the next run will be 6 seconds from now. I highly recommend that you give your recurring job an idea. The reason for that being is that you can then update it easily later on if you do a redeploy, because as you're typically using a database or something, this means it will be there forever. And by giving it an ID, it can stay there. Yeah, you can update it really easily. And if we look now, it's here and succeeded.
Quick question, for the dashboard, is it running some sort of embedded
Yes.
web server, JD or Tomcat or something?
No. I don't know whether you know this, but the standard GVMs the standard JDK comes with a web server, an embedded web server. And that's the one I use. It's perfect for a low-level load. But this is not something where you don't want to expose this out in the public. So I use the Sun JDK.
If you were running a standard Spring Boot application, you wouldn't need that, right? I mean, it comes with a...
Can I get back to you that later on in the... yeah, so it's a good question. So I have 3 kids to feed. Especially the 5-year-old, he eats really a lot for the moment. And I have the open source version, this comes with that. And then the pro version, which is what companies typically buy, there you can have this all embedded within your Spring Boot server, for example. So then I just hook it to the Spring Servlet context to present all this. So yeah, it's really difficult as an open source developer to decide which feature I put where. But since I have heard from some people that they think JobRunr is feature complete, yeah, it's difficult. I decided to put some features in the pro version so that I can feed my kids. So that's that. Now, the question about having a lot of multi-threaded jobs. Let's do that. Let's take in-stream from 0 to Boxed for each. No, I'm thinking because there is also something else that I want to show. So let's say that in your database you have the IDs of all your users, for example, and you want to send them all an email. And with Spring Boot and all the other frameworks these days, you can ask the Spring Data repositories, for example, from Oliver, you can ask for it to return an actual stream, the Java 8 stream of the user. So let's see whether I can get this working. This would be then the user ID stream. And then what we can do is we can do job scheduler.enqueue. And then we have this one, an input stream. So user ID stream. And then since these are integers, this would be otherwise it would be UUIDs, for example. We do service.present.rather, and then something like that. So now I'm creating 100,000 jobs. So we have 100,000 users in our database, and for these 100,000 users, for each of them, we just do it. We create this job. Why do I highly recommend this? Because this way JobRunner can batch all the results together and increase the performance. Otherwise, you have a one-by-one save, which takes a lot of overhead over the wire. And here we can batch multiple things together. So let's run this. Would this answer your question?
I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure if this is doing. So you're only showing like one.
This is multiple threads also. I'll show you.
But are you controlling how many threads?
I will show you that also in a minute. So so now we are processing all these jobs. We see enqueue jobs is 9,000. It's already processing, and it's processing 80 at a time. Why is it processing 80 at a time? It's because JobRunner determined that 80 threads at the same time would be the best performance that we can get.
Okay, so I understood finally. You scheduled like 100,000 jobs.
Yeah.
You enqueued 100,000.
Yeah, instantly.
And by default, your framework is picking up 80 as a number.
Yeah, and 80 depends on the amount of CPU cores you have.
Correct. But what if I wanted to control the number of threads myself?
All possible. So here we see that currently we only have one background job server enabled. There is only one server, and it's really not readable on the screen, I'm almost afraid. But so it has an ID, it has a name, which in this case is my MacBook. Then it says workers. It's 80 workers that currently are working on it. When was this background job server created? 1 minute ago, and then there is a zookeeper within JobRunner, and that zookeeper sends like a heartbeat every 15 seconds by default, and that was 10 seconds ago. Now, you want to minimize the amount of workers. Let's do that. Then in the use background job server, I can type using standard background job server configuration. So this gives me all the standards, but then I can start changing. And worker count, let's say maximum 5 jobs at the same time. And if we do this, then if we would wait for these 100,000 jobs with a thread sleep of 10 seconds, and we will go home soon. Let's not do that. But everything is configurable almost. Voilà. So here are all the jobs. And if I look at my service now, you see that the worker count has decreased to 5 now. And on top of that, the amount of jobs being processed parallel is max 5 in this case. And in like every technology company, we have big machine learning hype. And but here I think it will do some good. We will using machine learning. I have a collaboration with the University of Leuven in Belgium, and some last year machine learning students they are looking into using machine learning. It's the third time in a row I'm saying that word, to optimize the number of workers depending on the CPU load, the network traffic, and all of these kind of things. Voila. I hope this helps.
Do you already have that product? The machine learning?
They did a great job, and we hope to embed it beginning Q1. So let's see. Yeah, I'm curious about the results. So that was the demo part. Are there any questions? No?
Yeah, well, can you disable concurrent execution so that a particular job is only processed on a single node instead of being processed on all three, say?
Yes, but again, my kids need food. Sorry. So the free version has like all the distributed and unlimited everything. The pro version is tuned more, has more features like rate limiting, mutex support, workflow also, so you can change jobs.
Can it be distributed, like run on multiple nodes?
Yeah, by default. But I'll get to that here. So again, full open source developer. This is the business, and then yeah, the pro version has a better dashboard. So priority queues. Let's say that you have a really important job, and you want to pipe. You have a queue full of 1,000 jobs, and you have this one report that must go now. You can put it on a higher priority workflow, but I don't want to get into the pro version here too much.
I have a question. I'm sorry if this is somewhat unfair.
No, shoot.
It looks like is possible for a user or a programmer to get by using something called Apache NiFi. Very similar, but of course, NiFi is supported by a whole team of supporters, right?
Yeah.
So it is much bigger. So how would you compare this product versus Apache NiFi? NiFi might need more programs, as your framework is much more simple. One programmer could do it. So how do you compare your product with NiFi?
To be honest, I don't know Apache NiFi.
Okay.
I will definitely need to look into that. Typically, the main contenders that I see earlier was Quartz, but Quartz is not maintained that well enough anymore yet. The people who have contributed on JobRunr now is reaching, I don't know what, 32. I have an employee also now. So I need to feed him also. I don't feed him a base. So yeah, I don't know NIFI. I will definitely look into it. Yeah, I'm curious. So yeah, I know, like, for example, perhaps I try to reach out to them. So yeah, I can. There is anonymous usage data inside the JobRunner dashboard. This is live streamed. I'm very sure. Sorry, this is going to go on YouTube. I will say this to you off the records when it's not being live streamed, if that's okay. So yeah, that's that. Let's go back to the presentation. What's this? I hope we don't need to go to. So let's go into the internals of JobRunner. And who wants to learn some bytecode today? Yeah. But first, the question that you had is, how does it actually work? So JobRunner is really made to make sure that when you create a job, that it's happened as fast as possible, that it's saved into the database, and that it returns to the caller. Like, for example, a lot of dashboard, e-commerce systems. You want to, you need to create an invoice shipping instruction. You want, once your order is created, you want to give the user, hey, it's okay, we have saved everything. But the actual heavy process lifting you want to do later on. And this is where the one-to-end background shop service come in. In my example, the two were, of course, one machine, but you can distribute it over multiple servers. I know one customer is using up to 35 different servers to do processing. So the first thing that happens is your Java 8 Lambda is being analyzed with ASM. And ASM is a library that you're all probably using, perhaps without knowing it. It's used by Spring, by Quarkus, Hibernate. And it allows you to read bytecode of your actual Java classes. So the bytecode that's being generated by the compiler is, in fact, you can read that with ASM. So when we do background shop.enqueue system out.println blah blah blah, what happens, in fact, behind the scenes is that the compiler creates a synthetic method. And that's important. So the synthetic method means it's a method that you didn't create yourself, but that was generated by the compiler. And then there is the line number for debugging purposes. And then the first thing what it does is, okay, we get the static field of Java lang system, the out field, and this is type print stream, and this is put on the stack. Next, the string is also put on the stack. And then this is the important part where JobRunner is interested in. It's the invoke virtual method. And the invoke virtual method is the actual invocation of the Lambda. And there we see the println with the string on the static out field. If we do this with the test service, like earlier on in the example with parameters, well, the complexity doesn't change almost at all. So what do we do? Within my test case, even in this case, we get the test service field, which is of type stubs test service. So that's put on the stack. Then the input parameters, some string is against on the stack. Equals 1 is a GVM static, how must I say, a constant That's also put on the stack. Then the invoke static method is invoked there. And the result of that is a Java lang time instant. So a Java time instant, which is also put on the stack. And then the invoke virtual method, this is the interesting part again, is invoked on the test service. And all the parameters are just passed in from the stack, and that's it. So to be honest, bytecode isn't that hard at all. It's almost, we can all read this almost. And this is the part that JobRunr uses to find out what's happening inside your Java 8 Lambda. But isn't this dangerous? When I originally posted about JobRunr on Reddit, then I got this feedback. Your library may be nice at first glance, but there is so much black magic going on that just never should be relied upon.
And you gotta love Reddit.
Yeah, but I get this concern. It is a little bit of black magic, so yeah. But then I started looking, and for Java programs, we have, and this is defined by the Java, like the very smart people. You've got 3 types of compatibility: the source compatibility, binary compatibility, and behavior compatibility. And where does JobRunr fit in? In the binary compatibility. And this is defined in the Java language specification as preserving the ability to live without error. But what is so nice about this is that we can now still run jars compiled with Java 1 on JDK 21 without any problem. And this is because of the binary compatibility that they keep so strict and maintained. And that's why, I don't think this will be per se that much of a problem.
Question?
Yeah.
Would there be a way to do this without resorting to bytecode?
I looked for so long, I didn't find another way. I am now thinking about introducing a chat for this, because there is to be honest, I went to the dark side also. I've done .NET development. And in fact, I learned a lot there. Even the idea of JobRunr existed already in .NET. It's called Hangfire. I asked the guy, hey, do you mind if I port it to Java? And he said, take everything you need. I just took some ideas from the website, but I didn't look at his source code, because the worst Java code I've seen is the one that's ported from .NET or any other language. And the difference is in .NET you have a way to introspect a Lambda, but in Java you don't. So it gives me a little bit of a competitive advantage, but I think in the long term it would be nice that the GDK or the Java language would have a way to like easily intercept using reflection, because it goes even further to, there is a serialized Lambda. So I need to serialize the Lambda to find out the exact method and to find all these details inside the ASM bytecode.
So yeah, Ron, I have a question about the bytecode. I've seen a little bit of the stuff that you displayed, and that was really showed in both virtual. There's thought, filled with thought of those invoke.
Yes,
Keywords. You know, so
invoke static, invoke virtual, and then some of this.
Yeah, there's special and then invoke interface.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and I think the way they're described makes sense. You know what they are. But what's with the preceding L?
The preceding L.
Yeah, in front of Java.
Yeah, let's go quickly back. Sorry.
Yeah, you see it here.
I should know this, and I have known this.
That's always there.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm just curious what that means. Or is there a reference section?
The L in Java is just it's the type.
I get okay.
It's the type.
Right, so it's instant, the instant,
Is it okay if I come back to you after
Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
this meeting about you?
sure.
I'll,
Yeah, we can
because
come back offline, yeah.
I know that I have this inside the code of JobRunner to support it, of course, and I knew that it's for one moment, but yeah.
I think it's just the,
Is that what it is?
I think so. It's been a while since I've worked with it.
No, I know it. Yeah, sorry. It's not literal. It's when you have an object coming. Like, for example, here we see
Which is straight, yeah.
the E, this is the integer. The L is for any objects that's coming up, in fact. And then the fun part is that
Oh, yeah.
sometimes they put columns, but for the I, because it's constant, they don't put a comma. So yeah.
Okay.
So it's in from what I remember, but I'll double check it. I think it's because of the fact that afterwards comes an object, which is fully qualified, like a real object, not a primitive.
Well, okay, right. Cool, thank you.
So yeah, Reddit. We had this part covered also. So when I started with JobRunner, I also blogged about how I tested it against all the different GVMs. I tested against from Java 8 to now 22 already. And because of that blog post, Oracle reached out to me, which I found really nice, because who would have think that Oracle contact you? And they asked, hey, don't you want to participate in the quality outreach program? And what does that mean? It means that I test the preview releases of Oracle, and I should really start standing more still, but I'm a little bit hungover.
We'll catch you.
So I test the pre-releases of the new GDKs coming up, like the 22 example that you gave. And it's a win-win situation, because by doing so, I know upfront where the JobRunner still will continue to be working. And not only that, if I found something, I can report back to them and say, hey, do you perhaps, perhaps something is broken because JobRunner broke, and then we can figure out together what's going on, in fact. So that was really nice. And yeah, of course, this is an older screenshot, but it's compatible with up to 22. And this is the test I was talking about. So and this is using test containers, which just got acquired by Docker, by the way. Congrats on the guys. Congrats on that atomic jar. But what happens is, on an adopt OpenJDK image from, I think, OpenJ9, it's from IBM. The whole test suite, a smaller test suite, is completely done, executed, and yeah, everybody knows this part, I think, will successful. This is the main output that needs to be there inside the container that I spinned up of this type. And so yeah, this is all the Zulu, OpenJ9, GraalVM, and the list keeps on growing every 6 months now. So I don't think it's dangerous. But I still heard the guys' concern. And that's why in JobRunner 4, I introduced the job request and job request handler. And this is a new way to create like jobs and like the command handler pattern. And so you don't use any Java lambdas anymore, but you just create 2 objects, and you're also done to great job. So no more black magic. That excuse doesn't happen anymore. So what does that mean? When you want to send an email job request, you implement an interface. But this is not how we do this, to be honest. Let's all be fair. This is not the way to go forward. This is the way to go forward, just a record. Instead of the boilerplate, and you implement the job request interface, and then you're required to implement one method, and that is you need to return the class which is responsible for handling that input. So in this case, it's the send email job request handler, and we have the send email job request. So if we go to the send email job request handler, which again implements an interface job request handler, you can, can be a Spring Bean, whatever you want. You can do dependency injection, and then you are obliged to implement one method, the run method, which accepts a type of, you guess what, a send email job request. You do your business code, your black magic, and you're all done. And this is how you then send an email. And yeah, sorry, this is still for the ML check. I should have changed and updated it for the Garden State check, but
We can handle it.
okay, yeah.
We're from New Jersey, come on.
OpenAI will live transpose this too. So yeah, and this is how you then would be able to send an email. So that's the first part that's done.
So you implement the email connections and everything in SMTP and.
No. So what's happening here is that what I do, what I'm responsible for is handling your background job. Whatever your background job can be, I don't care. And here the SMTP handling, this is all wonderfully done by Spring. So I use Spring here to wire the simple mail message format, and then I'm the Java mail sender, and I can use all of their magic to create like a really concise class that does the business logic for me.
Oh, so this is done by Spring in the back.
The mail sending is done by Spring. Yeah, this part, the Java mail sender is done by Spring. Let's say your SMTP server is down. When you're using just Spring and you call this method, you will have an exception. What JobRunr will do is we'll make sure that it gets on retry until it succeeds.
Okay.
So
Are you gonna, a couple of things, are you gonna touch on fault tolerance and stuff like that? Or-
yes, I can do that in the demo parts. Yeah.
And the other, is there a way I can use Jakarta Mail instead of Spring Mail or Spring whatever?
Yeah.
Ah, cool.
I don't care what you use.
Yeah. Just
So
that's right.
it's also compliant with micro profile,
Mhm.
and I used here Spring because there is a big difference between I think Europe and the US a little bit, because in where I live, there is more like a Spring way of doing things, whereas in Germany now and here in the US it's more micro profile.
Okay.
So I don't. It's really like a cultural thing almost.
Well, we like micro profile too.
I'm helping.
That's right, absolutely.
So it's that. The next thing that is done, this is all converted to JSON. So this is the old format. This is the new format. What do we have job details, the actual class name that we want to run, static option, static field name. This is about, for example, a method name, and then all the parameters which are just serialized using Jackson. And so if your parameters can be serialized with Jackson, you're all set to go. What I highly recommend though is to keep your parameters as small as possible to not load up your database. So instead of passing a complete user, I recommend just passing the user ID. That way your parameter is closer. And because all the processing is done in the background anyway, the extra database call to fetch the user doesn't matter. And why JSON? Because for me, it's all about kissing. It's readable, it's debuggable, and it allows me to use it directly inside the dashboard. Then next, it is stored inside the database. And when I said earlier about about correlation ID. So what is happening? The complete MVC context is also saved inside the job. That way your correlation ID is also available there. Here are some hooks you can hook into JobRunner, so to have extra business logic being invoked. The job is saved to the storage providers, the SQL or NoSQL database. Then it's again the hooks being called, and finally the job ID is returned. And it might be that the same job already exists inside the database if you have the same UUID, and in that case you get a concurrent job modification. But this never happens unless you specify your own job IDs, and it already is taken. And then these are all the databases that we support. Amazon DocumentDB, Elastic, Mongo, Redis, and the top 5 SQL databases, including Oracle, MariaDB, and my favorite, Postgres. So yeah, I think I covered the top 10 databases.
MySQL?
Yeah, MariaDB and MySQL is the same thing, so they use the same driver. I think now there is a MySQL folder. Again, the screenshot is old, so MySQL is also supported. Even MySQL 5, although it's just end of life 3 weeks ago, I think. And then what is next done? It's read from the database again. So inside JobRunner, there is this method called check for a few jobs. And what happens is, using the worker count, the amount of threads we were talking about earlier on, we can calculate how many threads are busy and how many threads are available. And if there are threads available, we get jobs which are in state and queued. And then each and every one of them, we start processing them. And then this is a really important part. With JobRunner, I guarantee that your job is done at most, in 99.99 cases, exactly once. When will it not be? When will it be done more than once? It's when you have, for example, an exception, then yeah, it will be retried. So yeah, that's that. But internally, JobRunner uses optimistic logging to make sure that the job is only being processed on one node. So this allows to scale horizontally and so make sure that it's only runs on one node. So that's that. Last but not least, we are doing the actual job processing. So we notify that the thread is occupied. We check whether we can processing. This is the result from the previous method. If so, we run the actual job. And then if it succeeds, we update the job state it succeeded and run the job filters again. In case of an exception, there are 4 different things that can happen. The job can be deleted. Well, there's nothing more that we can do. The server stopped in case, yeah, I'll read this off and then I'll give you the mic. The job server can be stopped. The job cannot be found anymore. And in all the other cases, it means that an exception happened from your side, and then we put it to failed, and we run the job filters also. You had a question. Let me find the mic.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if that dashboard is it connected to some sort of central component or something? What's the kind of master or something?
The central component is the database.
Okay, so what is it? So say you have multiple nodes processing the job. So where is the dashboard connected to which node?
Up to you to decide. You can have it.
And what if that node goes down? The dashboard will go down?
It depends on how you configure your dashboard. If you do it in Kubernetes and these are all pods, then the pod will be restarted and the dashboard comes up again. But you can completely decide. In the demo I gave before, you can use dashboard, and this, so perhaps an important part. I like to be my deployment as easy as possible. So what you do is you deploy the exact same application 1, 2, 10 times, I don't care, and just using environment parameters, you change functionality. So you enable the dashboard, yes or no. You enable background job processing, yes or no. And if the pod dies, you spin up another pod and stuff continues to be working. Inside JobRunner, there is a job zookeeper that sees that a certain job is not being updated anymore, processed anymore. And in that case, it goes to an orphan state because the pod died. We don't know what happened with it. And it will then go from orphaned to failed. Failed to the retry filter kicks in. It's being retried, it's scheduled, and then it's being enqueued again automatically.
Is there like some kind of maximum number of nodes that you can have? Or?
I've not tested it that far, but the maximum servers that I know I blocked about is around 33 servers.
Thanks.
And then last but not least, the actual run method of the job. Who thinks reflection is slow? You're wrong, it's not slow anymore. It used to be slow, but in all the later GVMs, it's, in fact, what happens is, as soon as a certain reflection method is being called more than a couple of times, the just-in-time compiler changes it to native code. So sometimes if you have, like, in the beginning of your, you start up your application, in the beginning you have good throughput, and then suddenly a sudden drop. What typically happens is that the GVM, and Gerrit Grunwald knows a lot about this, is doing, it's a hotspot recompiling, and it compiles the Java to native C. And that part, it's taking, is then, yeah, the runtime is a little bit slower. But once that's done, then these things fly.
Yeah, the only reason I said it so because I know ahead of time compilation was born because of it. Interesting. Thanks.
Yeah. So yeah, reflection. If I look like I analyzed a profile JobRunner, where do I lose the most time? And everything is database related. So, and also that part is tuned. So yeah, the most, this part doesn't even show up in the profile, the profile part anymore. Because it's so little amount of time compared to the rest. And last but not least, we store the job outcome, and then we can see the results of the dashboard, either succeeded or failed. So these are the actual internals of JobRunner. If you go to the source code, you will see almost 90% of that changed a little bit over the since I created the presentation. But and then JobRunner today and in the future. So I know that JobRunner is used for medical image processing, web crawling, order fulfillment, document generation, e-procurement, service desk automation. It has 200,000 downloads per month from Maven Central. And I processed this amount of numbers, and it's almost an integer overflow, I think, in 1.5 years. This is with the anonymous usage data that I collect. And yeah, this is the part where I need to feed my kids. So I created the pro version. It's a better dashboard, queues, batches, job sharing, server tags, and all these kind of things. And with part of the profits doesn't go to feed my kids, but I plant trees with that. because I think the environment, like, for me, it should be freezing right now here, and it's like 10 degrees. And I think we now have a forest about 4,000 trees, and we will go to, at the end of this year, about 10 to 12,000 trees. So it's part of the revenue that goes to trees. And what's planned for the future? And I forgot to mention something. So there are people helping for better GraalVM native support, which is really nice. It's part of the great Java community that all the people start pushing pull requests for GraalVM native support faster, because we are looking, we're currently working on JobRunr 7, which will support Project Loom. So this means that we will spawn up more threads by default. Yeah.
So what do you have to do in order to have better support for GraalVM in your project?
Yeah. Well, GraalVM does not like reflection. And that is what JobRunr uses. So typically this means that you need to give extra information to the GraalVM compiler and mention all these clauses you need to keep inside the GraalVM native image. Because what the GraalVM native compiler does is it starts up your application, runs it, and it tracks everything that it uses. But some part of your reflection may not be used. And in that case, it gets kicked out of the GraalVM image. And what you need to do is you need to annotate methods, or give it on some way that the GraalVM compiler understands that it may not throw them out, but keeps them because it will be used by reflection.
Yeah, just to follow up on that a bit, Helidon, with their two flavors, SE and MP, MP for microprofile. Originally, you couldn't create native images with the NP version. But I think that all changed in Helidon 3 or one of their major versions, I forget which, but because microprofile uses a lot of reflection. So same problem. But yeah, so it's definitely possible.
Yeah, everything is possible. You just need to provide some metadata to the GraalVM compiler to make sure that it understands what it needs to do. And for example, in Quarkus, which I think Quarkus uses it microprofile underneath.
Well, Quarkus is the best of breed library. So
I know.
I don't know, I guess.
I think
I have to look into it.
It came out before microprofile, right?
No, it came out after. It came out in 2019.
Okay.
Quarkus, yeah.
So like for Quarkus, it's you just give the fully qualified class names as metadata to the GraalVM native compiler, and then it understands that it needs to keep it, and everything works. And of course, feature requests are always welcome. So voila, and then if there's time for Q&A, if there are more questions, and then a big shout out first to start at KBC, because I was selected there and I was allowed to work in the offices for a year. And then these guys helped me be here because they sponsored. So Flanders Investment and Trade is the Flemish government trying to export more software to the rest of the world created in Flanders. And they paid my travel bill to here, so really nice about that. And I would also like to give a special thank you to Mike, in fact. Because if you wouldn't have added me to the InfoQ newsletter, I don't know where JobRunr would be here, where it is now. And so part of the dream coming true is thanks to you, thanks to all of the Java community. And this is something I really want to mention out.
I forget how I was introduced to JobRunner, but I don't know if you reached out to me or I came across it or something.
It's too long ago.
But I will acknowledge Ben Evans, who's also an InfoQ editor that works for Red Hat. He's the one who started that idea when he was the lead Java editor
Okay.
for the weekly news round. So
Yeah, but even the amount of effort and time and work you're putting in there is tremendous. So I think the applause definitely is justified.
thank you. Yeah, I have it down to a science now.
So last but not least, the conclusion. Only one dependency that you need to add, nothing to install. You can use a Java 8 Lambda or a job request. It's distributed by default. It has a built-in dashboard and it's resilient thanks to automatic release. So remember to give feedback on this talk. Start the GitHub repo if you like it. You could always help to feed my kids a little bit more. And enjoy the rest of the conference. Enjoy the rest of the chat. Are there more questions?
This was definitely cool. I learned a lot more tonight. So what I do is I read his releases page and just pretty much just write down and look into, provide links for any of the classes and interfaces and stuff like that. But I've not used it yet. I think I will. But yeah, any more questions?
I'm sorry about this if you mentioned it and I didn't follow, but you do talk about persistence, right? Using underlying databases or NoSQL store. So in order to implement that, is there a standard set of tables?
That's automatically created for you. So you just, let me go to the.
But it's a bit problematic, you know why? Because if the program is creating tables by itself, that takes the decision away.
But you can also
from a DBA,
yeah,
and in more, I would say, overbuilt hierarchies that are there in big organizations.
I've got to call it.
Programs don't have the ability to create tables. You have to have somebody else create the tables, and the programs can do read and write.
Yeah.
So it's that separation of duties thing.
Yeah, no, I understand completely. So if you go to the website, it comes with a lot of documentation. One of this is installation and storage.
Right.
This is probably the biggest decision that you will need to make, which databases are you going to use.
Yes.
So there are two options. If you're not in the corporate environment, it's called the sit back, relax, and the JobRunr will do the work for you. However, if you are in a corporate environment, you can set up the database yourself. JobRunr will see that the tables are there. Okay, and do it. And so you can export all the schema files automatically that you need to apply then, or you can run a JobRunr jar with the database creator option where you pass your things and then it's created, and you can ask your DBA to test that, or you can apply the SQL scripts yourself, and then you just do blah blah blah, where you say database type, and then it will generate all the files in the current directory, and you can specify an option on the table prefix for schema name and other stuff.
Supposing there is a license copy and we're using JobRunr based on Spring Batch, right? So Spring Batch has its own set of tables, right?
Yeah.
So from your support page here, will the users get the tables for everything, like JobRunr plus Spring Batch?
No. JobRunr is totally typically you either use Spring Batch or you use JobRunr. You wouldn't use both. And JobRunr only creates the tables of JobRunr, not from Spring Batch.
You have JobRunr running on top of Spring.
No, I have JobRunner running on top of nothing. I don't care whether you use Spring Boot, Quarkus, or Micronaut, or Microprofiler. I don't care.
Okay, so then it doesn't make any difference, you're saying whether it's native Java or
Yeah,
Spring Boot, the tables that are needed in the database is only for Java.
Yeah. The example I gave earlier on also is without any. So if we go to the form, it's only JobRunner. Yeah, we could replace this with GCP or JSON, and this is nothing. You don't need Spring Boot, Quarkus, Microprofile, or you can just use it like this, but it's not work.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions from the audience?
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
You mentioned Spring Batch, since when you said that you usually use either Spring Batch or JobRunner, but not both. So does JobRunner have some sort of a data processing background also? Like Spring Batch?
No, indeed. It's a good question. So Spring Batch for me is more about ETL, this transform, load, and process data, whereas JobRunner is more for your business process that need to run on the current run jobs that you want to see managed, that you don't want to see fail at all. So yeah. Thank you very much.
Let's thank Ronnie again. Couldn't bring up my ear, so I we'll move on to our usual post-meeting activities. Thank you. All right. Yeah. All right. So some upcoming events. Thursday is the Virtual Play Hour Conference. This is their first one. And it's just a full day of talks. I was honored to be asked to present at that conference. I'm going to talk about Jakarta EE11, which is the talk I presented at Philly last month. So, also there is the online summit for Java developers in January of next year. This is also virtual. There is a call for papers on that one. Timing was kind of tight. I was actually invited to provide an abstract. So, and then at the end of January is the J Champions Conference. And this is a 4-day event, usually involving Thursday, Friday, and then Monday, Tuesday. And as you can see, the dates on there, the 25th, 26th, and the 29th and 30th. This is typically for Java champions, presented by, or for anybody, but it's presented by Java champions. So I was on the program committee for that this year. So that was fun, helping put that together. The annual Trenton Computer Festival, which, folks locally here are familiar at the College of New Jersey in Ewing, New Jersey, which is maybe about an hour from here. That's Saturday, March 16th, and the day before is the TCF IT Professional Conference. And then at the end of March, is JDConf by Microsoft, and that's coming back after a year or two hiatus.
By who?
Hmm?
JDConf by who?
Microsoft.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So pretty sure about that. Yeah. Yeah. So Microsoft keeps up that. Yeah. So that's another virtual conference. So if you're interested in submitting a presentation for that, and then of course I've mentioned DevNexus, and this is quickly becoming one of the more premier conferences for the Java community. It's in Atlanta, and it's April 9th through 11th. And I was actually shocked that my abstract got accepted. So looking forward to that. So This is the beauty of being retired. Now I can attend all these conferences. So, so yeah, but we'll be involved in, they have a Java User Group Leader Summit down there on the first day. So we're already going to submit I guess, an abstract for area of discussion for Java User Group leaders. And then the rest of the time will be for all kinds of talks and stuff. So this is good. And as I mentioned earlier, they're one of our partners. All right, upcoming meetings for us. So we have had a little activity since the last time we met. As you know, on January 9th, we have Jim Betancourt, who's going to present remotely. And he's going to talk about one of his own utilities known as Refactor First. Been around for a while. And then we have Doug Dreschel, who's going to talk about Oracle's MERN stack. Now you had mean, you had all these other acronyms. I'm not quite sure what the MERN stands for, but the abstract is already up on our website. So then we working on March and April, and then May we have Billy Carando. This is like 99% set in stone, and Billy will make the rounds at Philly, us, and New York the week of in early May. So that'll be fun. I know Billy, you know. And then we still starting based on the snafu last September. We're still trying to schedule Dmitry Choiko from Bellsoft. So waiting to hear from their PR folks to get his list of topics and such. So we'd like to have him potentially come in April. So so stay tuned for details on that. All right, so it's been well, I'm not going to say it's a quiet month, but a lot of our friends of the Garden State Java Group had their meetings last week. So that would be Chicago, New York, and I think I forget who else. But in any event, yeah. So there's a title that looks familiar for the Philly Jug. Ron's going to be in Philadelphia on Thursday, giving the same presentation, and then on the same day, the New England Java Group or Boston chapter, they kind of merge. So they'll have a talk called "Building an SDLC Toolshed," and I forget what the acronym stands for. Anybody?
System development lifecycle.
That's it. Software development lifecycle. Thank you, Mike. Yes.
Oh, software, right?
That's right. I knew it. The joys of getting older. So yes, but yeah. So that's pretty much it. So for our friends, and also too, the Pittsburgh Java Group. One of the leaders is auditioning for InfoQ, and I said, "Hey, how would like Pittsburgh be of our friend?" And of course, yes. And then also one of the other editors lives in Romania. And the Transylvania Java User Group will be one of our friends as well. So, but it's like I said, it's been a quiet month. All right, so this is where, if you are interested in a license to IntelliJ IDEA, and the one hard rule we have is that if you've already won a license, you technically you can't win one within 6 months after getting it. So. But yeah, if you're interested, we'll do the Google form and I'll run that tomorrow. So I'll leave that up there for a few minutes. And I have the coveted micro profile hoodies sitting here. Now, other than the leadership team, who has not received a micro profile hoodie? 2, 3, okay. Did you get one?
Maybe not. I don't think I did. I got a T-shirt.
You got a T-shirt. Well, I don't see what the list says here. I don't see Mike Zaleski on the list. So.
Okay, got a list.
Yes. Oh, you know, they gave us 17 of these. So I
got a T-shirt.
so, but yeah. So, yeah, Barry's here. He usually runs his random number generator thing. Do you have one for chance? Oh, perfect. All right. Thank you, Ron. pinch
What happened
hitting.
to yours?
I do have my intelligent, my Java application.
With all the little dots on this.
Oh, don't even go there. Ignore him over there. It's,
Mike, you gotta give numbers.
yeah, that's what I'll do. So, did you get a hoodie?
No.
You haven't, okay. So you're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, all right, so 1 through 5, what number do we? 1. There you go, perfect. So, all right, well, at the end, we'll give you, so. Yeah, what else? I think that's it. Yep, there's a giveaway. And of course, one of my favorite ways to end the meeting is to have this picture of beautiful, half liter, maybe it's a liter depending, of good craft beer. So thank you very much. I know this is night 6 of Hanukkah for those who celebrate. And then, for all the other, the holidays, Christmas and Kwanzaa and everything else, happy holidays, and spend time with your friends and family. And we'll see you on January 9th.